Welcome to the WiT and Travel Daily event on bridging China and Asia. Did you know that it's exactly 1 year ago today that WHO declared COVID a pandemic? 1 year ago when travel stopped. Can you believe it? So I did a little exercise this morning. I asked a few friends in travel one simple question. After a year of travel, I want to ask that of you now as well. After a year of no travel, what have you learned? So type in your answers in the chat. And so here are some of the lessons I got this morning. And one thing I'll never take for granted, standing on an unknown street in another country and taking in a deep breath of air. 2, nothing beats the quality of face-to-face interaction. 3, how much I need my dogs. 4, how much I miss family. So you can almost feel the pent-up demand that's stirring and that's firing up around the world like a dragon ready to fly. People are anxious, like me, restless, and eager to get on with life as it should be lived. It's heartening to see countries where life is kind of stirring back to normal. For example, in Singapore, life's pretty much back to normal, except we are still locked on a very small island. Contrast that with China, where life has returned with a vengeance, with a huge country to explore, but again, no overseas or inbound travel. Cross-border travel remains challenged in Asia. Last year, the Association of Asia Pacific Airlines said that its passenger traffic was at 5% of 2019 levels. And in January, it was at 3.5%. But there's a flickering light at the end of the tunnel with the rollout of vaccinations and governments like China, Singapore, and Thailand starting to talk about vaccine passports and airlines that are trialing travel passes. And so we thought that it was important that our first event of the year would be about keeping the bridge between China and Asia open, which is why we decided to team up with Travel Daily to bring you this event. My co-host Charlie Lee, whom I haven't seen for many years, feels like many years, founder and CEO, will come on later to interview Jane Sun, who's the CEO of Trip.com Group. For now, let me introduce our first speaker, who will take us on that first step towards bridging China and Asia. So please welcome Mac Patel, Regional Sales Director, JPAC for OAG, who's going to tell us in 10 minutes about how to bridge China and Asia. So Mac, over to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Ni hao. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for inviting OAG to discuss bridging China and Asia, which is the key to recovery as we move forward with this pandemic. So as we've seen, the aviation industry, as well as the travel industry, has been facing unprecedented crisis, rapid reduction in passenger demand, which resulted in reduced capacity, border closure, and quarantine measure. All of this has impacted the way in which the impact has been felt across various industry sectors, as well as at global economy level. This is the biggest challenge that travel industry has ever witnessed. In addition to this, we have to contend with global recession and weakened demand levels for some time to come. So the slide on this particular graph shows you the last 5 years where capacity has actually grown 5.7% since 2015 to 2019 level. But as you can see, the major markets that are showing the most optimistic growth during that period was Cambodia and Vietnam, growing at 28% and 25% at annual growth rate. Hong Kong and Chinese Taipei saw capacity reduce over the period, and this could be attributed to congestion at Hong Kong International Airport. And then, of course, COVID crisis came in and devastated the entire industry. So the next slide, we look at the collapse of capacity from China to Asia. So if you look at the top 5 markets where China has been actually sending a lot of outbound travel, you can see the devastating effects that Japan traffic has had on Japanese market. The same can be said for Korea, Thailand, Chinese Taipei, as well as Hong Kong. So all major markets are currently operating at about 1/3 of normal capacity levels. 8 out of 10 major markets are actually less than 10% of the normal levels, creating real challenges for airlines, the network planners, especially when they're trying to reforecast how to actually kickstart their travel program. And some of the airlines are telling us that network planners are looking at 6 weeks playbook to look at which markets have the best potential where they can actually start operating their flights to. And capacity levels have almost remained unchanged since April 2000. And relatively very little capacity to no capacity has been added during that period. And this again really poses a real threat in terms of reopening and how airlines are actually going to restart some of their businesses. The next chart actually looks at the collapse of capacity from China to Asia. And here you can see the significance of some of the key markets like Japan. These are all in single digits at the moment, comparing to March 2020 figures. So as you can see, traffic from Macau and Chinese Taipei, there were flights to those particular destinations, but that does not necessarily translate to passenger demand because there's a lot of cargo that's moving from one sector to the other. So that's what's creating the capacity glut that you can see from the actual capacity that's been uplifted during that period of time. And all the other markets, as you can see, Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, they've seen a huge reduction at single digits, unheard of and never ever to be seen. So capacity has been axed by airlines from every single country. So the next slide will actually show you, actually, if you look at capacity from China to Asia Pacific region, you've got 2020 at 100%. But if you actually look at current levels, it's in single digits in 2021 in March period. Only the Chinese airlines have been able to obtain and retain their domestic flights. And this is a result of initiatives that the Chinese government has actually imposed by offering cheap level flights, which were at a price of a cup of coffee. And at the moment, if you look at the statistics of domestic China, the airlines are operating 7% more domestic capacity than January 2020. But the profit margins are very low and unsustainable. So a lot of the carriers are looking at reopening their Asia Pacific network to look at profitability and point-to-point services that will actually make meaningful recovery moving forward. So these data points highlight why we need to see a rapid recovery and a restart in tourism business. So giving you some key stats, China to Thailand, if you look at 2019 figures, so Thailand was actually relying 25% of all inbound traffic from China. So that's quite a significant percentage that Thailand was actually investing in the Chinese tourism. And if you look at other main markets, China to Japan, 19% of arrivals into Japan were actually Chinese. And the same for Korea, which was 21%, Singapore had 13%, and Indonesia had 10% of the actual arrivals. So you can see that the Chinese market is pivotal to actual recovery restart in the Asia Pacific region. The next slide shows you the hub connectors. So if you look at China to Asia Pacific in 2019, you had just over 33 million passengers one way traveling from China to all different parts of Asia Pacific, of which 4.6% were indirect traffic connecting through major hubs such as Hong Kong, which probably saw about, of that percentage, about 2.4%, Seoul Incheon Airport, Singapore, Bangkok, and Kuala Lumpur. And the real challenge for airlines today is that point-to-point will become more of a normal as we move forward, as a result of passengers wishing to have more convenience rather than going through a hub, going through all the different quarantine measures, safety, health issues, and so forth. So we will see some real challenges of how passengers actually connect through hub connectors in the next 12 to 24 months as airlines start to rebuild the network. So bridge to recovery. So the next slide, actually, we look at what are some inputs that we require that will allow for recovery to occur. So the first one is vaccines. So moving on to the next slide. So vaccine. So different countries are rolling different vaccination program for its citizens. And if you look at the source market, you will actually require the vaccination to be the norm before you would actually be admitted to actually arrive at a destination. So vaccination will be the key driver to actually restarting the tourism industry program. The second is vaccine passports. So you've heard recently that IATA has come up with the IATA Travel Pass, which will be integrated electronically into passengers' mobile device, which will allow passengers to show that they've been vaccinated. So they would be able to skip quarantine and different measures that destinations would actually impose. Then there would be standardized travel process. So that will include different hygiene levels, different tests that the airlines and destinations would prefer you to have in place before you travel. So that's something that each country needs to actually come together and have a coordinated approach rather than having a fragmented approach which does not actually work. So Asia Pacific tends to have this particular challenge because the countries are very fragmented in its approach, and it needs a central body with government intervention to actually make it all standardized and making sure that all the different tourism stakeholders are in line with what's required to kickstart their tourism program. Then you've got product assurance and cleanliness protocol. So there's a lot of requirements there that destinations will require, such as hotels. They would need certification to ensure that their property or the airline is actually safeguarded by all the different measures that passengers feel comfortable. So there's different organizations out there that have actually endorsed different rankings or rating that allows consumers to select which airlines have been certified with cleanliness and a certification to ensure that they meet the stringent regulation that governments impose on them. Then you've got consumer confidence. So this is where once you have all the different measures in place, all the different variables, that will actually ensure that consumers can safely go to their destination and enjoy their vacation. And that results in demand recovery, which will be slow-paced, and it will be something that will be staged in process and phases as we move into the next 12 months. The next slide, we look at different recovery scenarios. So we've looked at 3 different scenarios that we would like to sort of recommend. So first scenario, which is a full reopening from day one, which we think it's unlikely because there's different variables that governments have to regulate, and we don't see the recovery coming in very quickly as a result. Where we think scenario 2 and scenario 3 will be quite possible, and there's a most likelihood of scenario 3 to take place. So let's look at scenario 2. So this is where one possibility will be is to open up tier 1 to tier 1 markets. These are key markets that the source market and destinations have something in common, such as high volume city pairs. It's approved to open. Capacity will be tightly controlled and quotas imposed. And we think demand will take up to 18 months to recover. And this is subject to there's no any further COVID-19 incidents at that particular destination. Having said that, we think that scenario 3 is the most likely scenario where selective country market openings will probably take place, which will be staged in different phases as we move forward. from Q3 to Q4. And this is where we will see carefully capacity regulated for at least 12 months, where markets will get a good handle of what the demand patterns are like. And that would lead to secondary cities that will open up as a result. The real risk here is that there's sudden and short, sharp market closures that will happen any recovery as a result of that. The final slide talks about how which we believe our recovery will materialize through the process. We feel that governments will take a very cautious approach to reopening of any market. Soft politics will be an influencer to ensure that each origin and destination, source markets and destination is actually following the protocol. The recovery will not be a straight line back to 2019 levels. It's likely to be a short, sharp and sudden lockdowns that we've seen in different destinations. Booking profiles may become more shorter in nature than normal. So we're looking at anything from less than 21 days. And that imposes a real risk for airlines when they're managing their revenue management system. And the same would go for hotel companies out there, because the prices would be influenced by drastic changes to demand levels, as well as dynamic pricing that airlines would actually follow. Travel patterns will change. We'll see smaller group sizes. Some governments may actually impose some control in terms of the quota that will be allowed to travel from origin to destination. There'll be social distancing, and tourists may avoid some major iconic tourist sites to ensure that there's not much crowding that will take place. And the final point is creativity in offering and messaging will be crucial. So that will include some offline and online integration that will allow different suppliers to do personalization and make meaningful engagement with the customer through the recovery process. Again, thank you for your time this afternoon to provide a OAG perspective in terms of travel recovery from China to Asia Pacific market. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Meg, for your very insightful sharing. It's very helpful. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I'm the founder and CEO of TravelDaily. Next, we are going to move to the next session. China has been such an important market for the global travel business, as China not only owns the largest domestic travel market in the world, it also the largest source market for outbound travel. The past year was a quite challenging year for the world and also for the travel industry. But China's successful control of COVID-19 pandemic and the quick recovery of domestic travel have shown us how resilient the travel business is. And the people in this industry should be optimistic about the future of the industry. As the world's largest travel company in terms of gross booking, Trip.com Group is also leading the wave of travel recovery. Please join me to welcome our next speaker, Jen Sun, CEO of Trip.com Group. How are you, Jen? Welcome to join us in this virtual event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlie. Thank you.
Okay, so congratulations to Trip.com and also your team on leading the travel recovery in China and also achieving very impressive Q4 result. Over the next 25 minutes, I would like to invite you to share your insights on the change of travel behavior post COVID-19, your content and product innovation, low-tier market penetration, market competition, and also the impact of hotel consolidation, also the prospect of travel recovery. Okay, so let us start. My first question is, COVID-19 has caused a significant impact on every people's daily life and work. So, and also on the travel behavior of consumers due to the restriction on cross-border travel and also even the lockdown in some regions and countries. Could you please highlight some biggest changes happening in Chinese travel market you have seen since the outbreak of COVID-19? And also, are you also seeing some similar changes happening in other markets, given Trip.com group also has an operation around the globe? Thank you.
Sure. We have seen a lot of changes in the travel market. We have observed a couple of trends. First of all, customers are paying lots of attention to safety measures. So we encourage the partners who work with Trip.com to join us for the safety network by providing our customers with masks, with hand sanitizers, with temperature taking instruments. So customers feel very safe when they travel with our partners. The second trend we have observed is that people prefer to travel within much smaller groups rather than big groups. So customized tour, private tour are much preferred. People prefer to travel with their close family members and their good friends. So that's the second trend we have observed. The third one is that people prefer to travel with the airlines and hotels and local tour operators, which offer flexible cancellation and changeable itineraries. So if the itinerary is changeable and refundable, they get lots of volume. So these are the trends we have observed as a result of the unpredictability of the outbreak of the COVID. That's the feedback we have given our partners to help them to package the deals so that it's more suitable for the new trend in this environment.
Okay, thank you very much. It has been a very challenging year for the global travel business since outbreak of COVID-19 since early of last year. Many travel companies are running out of business and many people also lost their jobs. So from the company or also from the personal point of view, what are the best lessons you have learned from the dealing with COVID-19 crisis? If we were given the choice, is there anything else you think the governments, the travel companies around the globe can do better to tackle the crisis?
Sure. The lessons we have learned is that no matter what happened, we always put customer first, partner second, Trip.com the third. So I remember the first quarter of last year was very difficult for the whole travel industry in China because China was the first country which got hit by the virus. We reached out to our customers, offer full refund to the customers without even know if the airlines or hotels will give customers' money back to us. So that was very difficult. I remember on Chinese New Year's Day, the refund total can reach 5 billion a day. So our team really worked very hard to make sure all the banks are standing with us, giving us the line of credit, making sure our customers' interest is protected in a very difficult year. The second thing is we also made sure we launched 1 billion partnership fund to help our partners to go through the very difficult time. And that was very well received as well. The third one is also with our team. James and I in January told our HR team that we will take zero salary. And our VPs volunteered to take 50% salary cut during the difficult year. And our team worked 4 days and stay home at 1 day. So very quickly in Q2, we narrow down the loss to 200 million, almost break even in the second quarter. And in third quarter, we immediately turned to be profitable at an operating gain of 1.6 billion and Q4 500 million. So the speed of the reaction to make sure our cost structure is very flexible, that's also very important in this kind of unprecedented disaster. But going forward, I think as an industry, as a country, I remember Bill Gates many years ago did a TED talk, and he was very forward-looking. He warned the world that we were not very well prepared for the virus. But after this pandemic, I'm very glad to see that many medical experts are working together without borders. I'm sure we're much well prepared than ever to be prepared for the next wave if it happened.
Yeah, I remember actually last year, many of your staff, they even bring their kids to work at the company actually to handle the tons of cancellation and refund of the customers. It's
That's
really
right.
touching. Actually,
Yes.
so some friends said actually it's you guys actually travel business has been hurt quite a lot, but it's you guys who contribute quite a lot also to the society, also to the people.
That's right. That's right. I think our employee, although they are very young, the average age for our call center employees is only 25 years old, but they really have demonstrated the ownership and the spirit to devote to the travel industry. We're very proud of them.
Okay. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, Trip.com Group also has been putting a lot of efforts on improve your content offering and also starts showing very positive result. According to what you shared on the latest conference call, actually last week, by the end of 2020, your content channels contributions to the top app traffic more than doubled compared to the beginning of the year, and also the visit time of travel content more than tripled during the year. Could you please share with us how you are able to achieve this? Are you doing the same in the other markets, such as Asia Pacific markets, which are most likely to first open up the border with China?
Yes, I'm very proud of our content team. We only started last year. Again, it's a customer first philosophy, which prepare us to enhance our content generation. What we saw is that our customer was looking for the information on the other sites. And then when they made a decision, they come to us to make the booking. So internally, our team thought it would be good to have the content already on our site. And because we already have the product service in one place, and we also have a comprehensive product offering on our site, it made the booking much easier. And the results is very positive. Our customers come to our sites, join the discussions, and post their review notes on our site, which is contributing to the next customers' search results. So it's a very positive end-to-end cycle on our one-stop shopping platform.
Okay, yeah, as we know, actually, since early of last year, both James and also yourself and also the senior executive of Trip.com Group and also the whole team has rolled out actually the so-called live streaming project. Right. And it works really very well, not only bring the bookings to your business, also improve the brand awareness of your business. Do you think you are going to bring this initiative to other markets, especially Asia Pacific market?
Right now, we are focusing on the China market, which is very successful. We have been accumulating lots of experiences, and our tech team and product team also have accumulated lots of experience. Now, going forward in Hong Kong, Macau, these are also the area for us to do some testing. If it works out, we're very open-minded in terms of trying other markets.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is about the product innovation, and which you have highlighted in the conference call. Could you please give us a few examples on this, and how will travel suppliers around the globe benefit from your product innovations?
Yeah, product innovation is going on every year. We really listen to the voice of the customer and try to understand what they are looking for. When we first start our business, we only had hotel business. And after 2 years, we added air ticket. And then after 2 years, we added vacation package and then corporate travel. Now we have more than 100 products on our website. So the product we added includes train tickets, rental car, attractions, diving trip, ski trip, the team building, mountain climbing, etc. Anything that our young customers are looking into will be added into our portfolio. And our capability is that we are able to launch any product more than 100 products simultaneously to make sure our customer, no matter where they are, they have the product at the local level to support their pleasant trip.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is about the competition landscape in low-tier cities, which have become much more competitive for travel retailers and travel suppliers. Could you please highlight some changes you have seen in these low-tier markets over the past year, and also your strategy in this market?
Yes. The low-tier cities, we have many products is touching these low-tier cities. The first product is traffic-related product. We call it 铁公鸡, meaning 铁路 railway, 公路 meaning bus, 机飞机 flight. So these transportation products are really the leading traffic engine for us to take customers from one city to another, from one state to another. The second thing is when they land, we also need to make sure we offer all the products to our customers, including tickets, attractions, things to do, local transportations, local supplies, and end-to-end support and services. So we have local tour guides to take customers around. We have local drivers to take the customer around. And these are also very important for us to touch the low end of the products. So if you have the traffic which take the customer to low end market, we also have the product supporting these customers who are reaching this area. Then it's an end-to-end A times B type of transactions.
Okay, thank you. So one of the biggest changes COVID-19 may bring to the travel business is it will accelerate the consolidation of travel intermediary, as more and more offline tour operators and also travel agencies are running out of the business. So the big OTA players will gain market share post COVID-19. Do you agree or disagree? Are you also looking at some M&A opportunities in China and outside of China?
I think the demand is suppressed right now, and due to the COVID-19, the demand is even more suppressed compared to SARS. SARS, you only depressed by 1 quarter, but this is more than 1 year, almost will be 1.5 years before the full industry recovers. So we put a lot of investment during this difficult time to enhance our supplies and to enhance our service capability. So when it recovers, we'll be able to take care of the customer's demand. In terms of preparation, we invest quite a lot in technology. We also invest quite a lot in our AI to support our customer service level. We also invest quite a lot in terms of making sure our product is very comprehensive.
So do you think the big OTA players will gain more market share over the traditional tour operator and travel agency after the COVID-19?
Yeah, at the local level, if it is because the restriction due to COVID-19, we cannot let people to contact each other. So online definitely is more easy for people to get the information. So that's why our team put lots of efforts in the online platform to make sure the customers' needs are being addressed.
Okay, so people always see actually the invisible competitor disrupting your business. And also I believe this rule also apply to the travel business, such as Google also challenged the dominance of Booking.com, Expedia in online travel space. The similar changes, similar things are also happening in China right now, such as the Pinduoduo, Douyin, and Xiaohongshu. They are also entering into the travel sector, and also Didi. They are going to launch the corporate travel business very soon. And Meituan also turned out to be a very strong competitor of your hotel business. And actually, they only stepped into this sector from 5 or 6 years ago. how do we evaluate the competition from these new players? Are they going to be the real threat to your business?
I think we focus on our gene and just to make sure we do this one thing in depth very well. So our strategy is we are the super app, super company which offers comprehensive products for travel. So if you have quality, if you're looking for quality products for travel, Trip.com is the best provider for you to use. So we are very focused in terms of customer acquisition, product offering, technology solution. When customer is on road, if something happens, we have global SOS team to take care of our customer. So that's again our gene, and we'll do it very well. We'll do it the best among all the peers. So that's our gene. And every company has their strength. Different talents is used for different things. We look at all the market and we collaborate with everybody. We are very open-minded. All the players in the market, I'm very open-minded to work with them, including Xiaohongshu, Douyin, etc. So everyone seems to be very willing to use Ctrip as their partner to strengthen their platform.
Okay, thank you. So the consolidation is also happening in the hotel sector, actually. As we see, China's leading OTA have been aggressively investing in the local hotel chains, such as Ctrip's participation in the privatization of Hangzhou-based New Central Hotel Group, Meituan's investment in Guangzhou-based Dawson Hotel, and also Tongcheng also investment in one Hunan-based hotel chain. Do you think this consolidation and investment will give the OTA the advantage to gain more power over hotel supply and pricing?
I think it's a good gesture to show that we're willing to work and support each other. But again, hotel and OTA has different genes. Hotel is very strong in their daily operation. When customer reach to the hotel is in the best position to provide the best service, to take care of customers when they are on road. OTAs are very strong when the customer do not know where to go, and when the customer try to decide which hotel to use. So the strength is very different. We focus on customer service, our technology capability, our information assembly, and the ability to help customers when they're on road if they're in trouble. But we are not very good with how we can greet the customers, what kind of pillows they need to use. So again, I think every company has different strengths. Some of the cross holdings help us to support each other. And so everybody has the confidence that we'll take care of each other's customers. We have shared interest. But again, the strengths and the offering they can give to the customer is very different.
Okay, thank you. So due to the effective pandemic control and wide distribution of the vaccine, we also see the hope of full recovery of international travel. So when do you think the travel volume can finally back to 2019 level? The travel recovery may take a step-by-step approach, depending on the bilateral negotiation of governments. So which Asia-Pacific market you think will first open up the border with China? So also, what does the industry need to do to prepare for this opening up?
Yeah, I think we should probably take a couple of steps. First of all, China is the country which best control the virus. So we have confidence that this year, our domestic travel will do very well. After January and February, I've already seen tremendous growth in our business in terms of hotel growth as well as the air ticket growth. So we have lots of confidence that domestic travel will do very well. The second thing is really the medical experts need to form consensus. For example, if a customer already take vaccine, when he or she returns to their home country, will she or he be required to take quarantine? or can the quarantine period to be shortened? So if the medical experts, the scientists can form some consensus, that will be very helpful. The third step will be for different countries to publish their policy based on the medical and scientists' consensus. So for example, if the vaccine is done, the quarantine period might be shortened or might be eliminated, right? So different government will have different policy. And the third step then will be for company like Trip.com and the other companies to make sure all this information is reflected in our product offering, reflected in the passport of vaccine, so that our customer can plan their trip accordingly. But I'm very confident that based on the information we have seen, USA probably in June or July will reach a level which herd immunity will be reached. So they're very excited right now. What I heard is that some of the states today in United States already said that if you have taken a vaccine, that state will not require people to be quarantined. So within the states, there are already positive moves because of the adoption of the vaccine. So I'm confident as we more and more people taking the vaccine, more and more recovery will take place in the global places.
So we should have the reason to be positive about the business in this year, yeah?
That's right, that's right.
Okay, I finished all my questions. Do you have anything else you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to thank you and all our partners and our customers and employees to work so hard during this challenging time. I think we're already seeing the lights at the end of the tunnel. Let's work together and make sure we put concerted efforts to lead the recovery in this travel industry.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your time. We're all looking forward to the bright future of the travel business. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. That was a fantastic interview. And thank you, Jane. It's so good to see you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a few years already. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, we move on to the next session. We were meant to play the video, but clearly didn't work. It still happens. We're still stuck in the world, Tom. Tim, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim, you know that video was made in June.
Yes.
And did you think that we'd still be at home by now?
I think by June, when we were trying to be realistic, I think we were sort of suspecting we would still be here like this. I think once we got to June and we saw the state of the world and we saw the state of lockdowns, I think we were like, yeah, this has got a long time to run. But I also think by June, we were starting to believe that the devastation of April and May was behind us. You know, and March, April, May was just awful. And by June, we could see that consumers were getting back on the travel bandwagon. And obviously, they were limited in where they could go, and it was market by market, depending on if things had been unlocked down. But I think we could see that there was hope. So I think there's sort of a couple of things were going on. Yes, in June, we realized there was a lot more to this story. But also in June, we were like, okay, travel is part of the human condition. We've seen it. They will come back. We've just got to get through the next, insert your time period here. Could it be a year? Could it be 2? Could it be 6 months? Whatever. But we knew that the travel story was going to be back.
Yeah, it was pretty inspiring just now listening to Jane, right? And how really China, I like how bullish she is about domestic travel in China. They have a big market. But we, you know, I think in October, you said that we were at the beginning of the beginning, you know, and I feel like we haven't even left the starting gate in some markets for, you know, at the beginning of this year. So can you share like a couple of trends that you're seeing at Agoda across some markets? And I think you've got a couple of slides for us.
Sure. Look, I think we still are at the beginning of the beginning. You know, we'll talk to this slide here. So I can't tell you the country, but the important thing this slide tells us, and it's mapping bookings in the gray line and the blue line, the top line, versus COVID infection rates at the bottom line. And this is, a country which has, had a couple of waves of COVID. And what's critical here is the speed with which business comes back once the outbreak subsides. And I don't need to tell you the country here because I can actually show this graph in its various forms for 5, 6, 7 countries, dozens of countries. And it's the graph that gives us the hope we need, because it's the graph that shows as soon as people can, they get out. And you could literally match the day. The day a lockdown ends in a country is the day the travel starts in that country. If the consumers don't take a week or 2 weeks or bide their time, they just head straight out their front door. And the fact that, an example like this one, we've seen it not only twice, but 3 times. As I say, there's many countries like it. I think that tells us. But, the important thing is this is not a global story. It's a country by country story. Each country is going through a very different experience. There are common themes, and we know all the common themes.
Yeah.
You don't need me to go through the domestic common themes, the short lead time common themes, and I think Jane hit a couple of the key ones too about consumers' desire for cleanliness information. Those themes are across. We'll talk this one later on. Let's hide this slide for a moment. We'll get to that at another point. But the common thing that there are lots of different things going on in each market, and we need, with a sort of a global footprint like Agoda, we need to be doing different things in each market, timing things differently in each market, to take advantage of what's going on and react to when the walls come down again and the lockdown starts again.
Well,
So I suppose,
but the universal theme is that people are restless, and as soon as they see positive signs, they just want to book. And then I think the second theme is how global companies like yourself, have really to get really, really local, and really, as you say, tackle each market very, very differently. And that takes an entire organizational mindset change, doesn't it? Plus an operations change.
As a global OTA, for always you had that balance between, what am I doing in my core product, this product that I need for, 20 markets, 30 markets, 40 markets and beyond, versus the challenges of localizing, and you always had that balance going on. But in COVID, you just had to shift that balance completely. You just had to say to yourself, there is demand here, 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 and here, and here. And if I'm going to get it, I've got to go, local. And to give you an example, we launched, day use bookings in Korea. So the ability to, book and check out at the same time for Korean styles of inventory. We launched targeted government-backed campaigns in Japan and in Thailand. We launched ASQ, so quarantine-based business in Thailand. These are products built very specifically for one market. And the speed with which we had to get ourselves geared up for that, the teams we had to shift left and right to hit that. That was COVID driven, because that's where the demand was. And if we didn't do those things, we would miss it.
Yeah, so it made you way more agile and nimble than you've ever been, right? So let's go to the second chart, which I think refers to what Jane was speaking about too, about flexible cancellations, right? Yeah.
It's a wonderful part of the story in the sense that, obviously Jane and I sit on different sides of the competitive spectrum, and we focus on different markets, but the themes are exactly the same. And this theme here speaks to her third point on flexibility. So the non-refundable percentage of our bookings is the lighter color on the bottom, and the flexible sense of our bookings is the stronger color on top. And you can clearly guess when the peaks of COVID are, or the peaks of the COVID recovery are in the middle. But even so, months afterwards, here we are, almost a year after the horror show of March began, and there is still a distinct shift towards a desire for flexibility. A little bit of normalization for sure, but a distinct shift. We created our own product, like Jane mentioned hers. Our product was called Easy Cancel. We've worked with lots of hotel partners to put that there, because the consumers just need that flexibility if they're going to travel.
This is not going to go away, right? This is going to stay even after COVID.
I think yes. I mean, we all hope and pray that long lead time, long haul travel comes back. People securing their summer holidays in Italy and their Songkran breaks in the Maldives or whatever, or their Golden Week breaks, and whatever the case may be. And a lot of that stuff requires long lead time planning, which might require different cancellation policies.
Right.
So who knows when the world gets back to normal, but this flexibility piece is with us for the immediate term, and that could be at least a year or more. So for now, that's the story that all suppliers and all distribution partners have to stick with. Yeah.
Well, I've got friends in Singapore now who are so desperate that they're actually booking their December holidays, in the hope that we will be able to travel by then. But let's talk about Taiwan, which is another market which is really interesting because, it didn't really have a government incentive for its locals to travel domestically, right? You had Thailand's Travel Together, and then the Japan Go To Travel campaign, which was suspended and will remain suspended, I read recently.
Yep.
And then we had Singapore Rediscover, which gave away 325 million Sing dollars worth of vouchers. But Taiwan really didn't have such a financial incentive. So can Taiwan set a model for us to learn from, you think, in terms of customer behavior as well and travel trends?
Yes, look, Taiwan had the ultimate luck, if you like, of an island. Being a small island allowed you to shut borders, dramatically, powerfully. We saw that in Australia too. Australia, even if it's a big island, it basically became a fortress. And Korea is kind of an island, a little bit. I mean, no, it's not really an island, but it is. You can kind of think of it as
mentally.
An island. And they were also able to just so those countries that had that island geographical, advantage were able to close their borders, and therefore travel was able to blossom a lot more powerfully. But to your general point, government support in this crisis is critical across all the board and across everything. We just cannot get through this as a travel industry, but across all industries, without the support of government. And those governments that have given the best support have shown that they've been able to get their populace through the crisis with the least impact on unemployment generally. And travel is going to need that, and it has needed that. We've seen a lot of examples that we participated very closely, I mentioned before, in Japan and in Thailand, and we're looking forward to working with others. So I think, yes, that government support has proven critical in a number of facets.
Yeah, that's another interesting twist to the tail end. I bring it back to Singapore too, which is cruises, right? And I know you don't sell cruises, but maybe in the future, right? But in Singapore, since it's launched in December, the Straits Times reported that more than 82,000 people in Singapore have set sail on cruises to nowhere, with no COVID-19 cases on board. And in fact, this morning, I spoke to my contractor because, the wear and tear in my house is terrible because I'm spending so much time there now. But he told me that he's been on 3 cruises since January, and he raves about it. So what does that say to you? What does that say to you, Tim?
And look, and it is a wonderful, and we've seen other examples too. Qantas's flight to nowhere sold out in some stupid amount of time, 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And basically that was people getting on a Qantas plane, taking off, flying around and coming back. And in the actual, we've just finished in Sydney, the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, which they couldn't do down the streets of Sydney. So they did it in a football stadium, and that sold out in moments as people were desperate to go to, a festival or an event. Right. So it tells us the same thing. It tells us that travel is unstoppable. It tells us that this virus will leave a lasting impression on humankind, just as the Spanish flu did, and just as World War I and II did. But it won't stop us traveling. It won't stop us.
I mean, the human need to be together is unstoppable. Yeah. Okay, Timothy,
we can take an example too from the sort of digital world. I remember the early days of sort of Facebook and social media, and there were stories that would hurt travel. That I'd be able to be so connected to my family, friends, whatever, via Facebook or social media, so I travel less. But it actually had the opposite effect. It made me it made people travel more. They reconnected with people, digitally that they hadn't seen for a long time, high school friends or whatever, and that stimulated travel. So I think this COVID, we're all sitting there just being held down by this virus, and once we are going to race off.
It's gonna erupt like a geyser, like in Iceland. Okay, so we have a couple of questions from the chat. So one is basically about Maldives. The recovery of Maldives, hotels fully booked. What are the markets that you also saw a very good pickup?
Yes, look, to be frank, the story still of COVID is a domestic story. So there are encouraging signs in some places, and I know the Maldivian government's been working hard, and there's encouraging signs there. But for the most part, the story we're talking about is a domestic one. But that's interesting too. And I know we've seen some data on some of your previous events on the destinations within those domestic markets that have seen growth. You know, the top 10 destinations in Thailand are different to when they were before. Same in Vietnam, same in Korea, and particularly in China, I know, as consumers have been looking for a different place inside their country to go and visit. You know, I've been to small islands in Thailand where the speedboat to get there has to be booked 2 weeks in advance. Otherwise, it's sold out. You can't get on that speedboat and you can't get to that tiny island.
Okay,
So,
so we have another question, Tim. How many sales occurred at free cancellation?
How many, sorry?
How many sales occurred at free cancellation? So when you had the free cancellation, was there a pickup in sales?
I mean, as you saw from that chart, during the many months after the sort of early recovery, so we're talking the Q3, basically everything was free cancel, and we still see dramatically more free cancel now than we have in the past because the consumers are working.
And you see sales pick up at the when you offer free cancellation.
Absolutely,
also.
absolutely.
Okay.
Look, and you see, like we've gone through. You know, this time last year we were in the first wave, massive lockdowns in most places. But since that time, many countries have gone through a second and a third wave. So some consumers have been locked down 3 times, and they just need to know that they've got an easy cancel option to make themselves safe during this time. Yeah.
So let's talk about cross-border travel, bridging China and Asia. And Jane, you know, basically talked about, you know, maybe June, July, you know, vaccination rollout, governments needing to basically, you know, be very clear in their policies. So I want to also ask the audience the question, but I'm also going to ask you first is, you know, there are various travel passes that are being tried out right now, right? Whether it's IATA, common, lots of passes out there. So you strike me as a betting man. So if I were to ask you, if you had $100, how much of that 100 would you bet on the different travel passes working successfully to give governments confidence to open borders? And, you know, for the audience, please also bet on this, okay? So it's $10. Would you bet $10? Would you bet 30? Would you bet 50? Would you bet 80? Or you keep the 100?
I would bet the lot. You've got to bet the lot because the vaccine is not enough. You know, if we take the extreme example and all 8 billion people are vaccinated, but there's no vaccine passport, there will still be fear and uncertainty about cross-border travel. There needs to be a way that I show my passport, my regular passport, my boarding pass, and my sort of travel certificate before country's going to let me in. I can tell you Australia is going to be like that. Qantas is not going to let me on the plane without this thing.
So you'd bet $10. Is that what you're saying? You bet $10?
No, I bet it all. I bet $100. I bet everything. The industry needs a travel verification system as much as it needs the vaccine.
All right. So let's hear. We have some answers from the audience. B, C, E.
Sure.
You know, keep tapping in your answers. Okay. Again, lots of predictions about how travel will change, and it seems we can pick up a few tips on what's going on in China. I mean, Jane is very bullish about January, February, and travelers are back in the air. So let's go to business trips, right? Bill Gates says that 50% will disappear. What's your number? Is it 10%, 30, or 50? Or will it be replaced by new types?
I don't think it's 50. I don't think it's close to 50. I think there is I think this is the sort of thing that a person who's used to selling software to consumers would say. You know, there are lots of industries, manufacturing, mining, energy, huge healthcare, huge sections of our economy that are based on face-to-face visits. But I do agree that it will have a transformation in terms of the type of travel people do. And I do agree that it will lag leisure by some period of time. As it did in the recovery of after 9/11. I think we saw a 1 to 2 year lag in the recovery of business travel versus leisure after 9/11.
I like one of the answers previously to the bet of $100. The guy said $120. I like that.
God, I'm with that guy. I'm with that guy. And that's because look, you know, I've talked about it before. I'm feeling the most informed I've ever felt during this COVID period because of events like yours and others that I've gone to. But I feel the least connected, and I can draw direct lines, absolute direct lines from accidental bump in event things that have happened to me at trade shows and events where I literally bumped into somebody, and I can connect that to a deal that I did, or I can connect that to a product that we launched. And that's not happening on webinars, as good as they are. And you know, they're really good. That's just not happening.
Right. So let's go to the next one, which is about business events like this. Okay. So will you attend fewer or more events when you're allowed to travel? And it's A, fewer. Virtual is so much more convenient, you know, despite the technical glitches. B, more, I miss people. Or C, I would be more selective. Let's see what the audience says. Okay, we have Joseph saying A, we have Trevor saying B, you miss people, Trevor. Okay, I miss you too. Okay, what about you?
Look, I've always been selective, and I know it appears that I'm everywhere, but I say no. You know, I've always said no 9 times out of 10, because I realize that there is, well, first you had a lot to choose from, but also there was about the quality of the networking, and you could tell that. So I've always been in the selective camp, and I'll stay in that selective camp. But I'm bullish. That doesn't mean I'm bearish or negative on events. I am bullish on events. I mentioned before that I can draw direct lines from events to deals that I've done and products that we've launched. So I'm bullish, positive on events, but I'm still always going to be selective.
Okay, so most of the audience is saying, you know, they will be more selective. And I think that probably is kind of a universal thing, that we will be, you know, we will be more selective. But what will you be more selective about, Tim? And let's hear from the audience too. Like, you know, when you say you want to be more selective, what are you going to be more selective about?
Well, to me, it's always been the quality of the people attending and the networking capability of it. You know, content is always absorbable differently. Like you can absorb content, you know, like this, or in a recorded session. It's always been about the networking. And again, let's take an example of that. Like, without being, I don't want to pick names, but there's a trade show going on, you know, right now that would typically be held in Germany. And to register for that trade show, you have to pick whether you're a buyer or a supplier. I mean, that is 20th century thinking, that I have to pick that I'm a buyer or a supplier. In travel, I am both. I'm always both. So I hope this actually gives a chance to change a few of those old-fashioned rules about this, you know, sitting yourself in a particular camp before attending an event, and accept the fact that we can revolutionize things a little bit, mix up physical and digital, and mix up this sort of definition of buyer or supplier. So hopefully this will spur a little bit of change.
It's a pretty exciting time, you know, like, you know, the bridge between China and Asia, and you know, working on this event, for example, has been for us an eye-opener, and working with Charlie's team, you know, and using a new platform, right? You know, and so we're all just trying new things and collaborating with, you know, with great people. So now let's go back to China now, okay? Because we talked about, you know, if you have tapped into the local demand in China, you're okay for the year, right? And if you know how to tap local demand in key markets like you know, Korea or Australia, then you're in a good shape. Can you share one example of something that Agoda has done that has worked well in generating local demand in China for domestic travel, other than live streaming?
Well, look, you know, it is fair to say we're in a different scale to Trip.com in China, and we're the first to admit that. But we are still very committed to China, you know, and we've worked very, very hard on our teams there. We've built some local products there. We're very active in daily deals there. We've signed some very interesting deals there for distribution. You know, we're live on Pinduoduo there. We're live with China Mobile there. I think we're some of the first companies in China to be live on those distribution channels. So I think we've been able to sort of duck and weave and sneak ourselves around the big guys. But accepting the fact that we are in a different scale story to the big people in China.
Right, I can definitely see, you know, that Agoda is now taking on the Booking Holdings lead brand for APAC strategic partnerships, including China. So, you know, things have definitely changed.
Well, never ever discount Booking.com. I can't speak for them, but never discount them. And they're certainly very active in China still, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, everyone's got to have a little think about how to be the most efficient in all of their practices, and Booking Holdings has not escaped that. But don't count Booking.com out ever.
Okay, so now let's talk about the creativity that you've seen from hotel partners, right? Other than just free cancellations, other than safety and hygiene, which has to me become hygiene, right? Like you gotta have it
Yes.
now.
Yes.
How is Agoda rethinking its product for a post-COVID future? For example, big topic coming up, sustainability, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I read a group, I spoke at that meeting actually, HRS, and they are introducing a green state initiative to help business travelers identify, compare, and prioritize sustainable hotels. And then they have a product called New Work that enables people to work from hotels. What have you seen from the hotel industry?
Yeah, and I think Glenn called out sustainability in our most recent earnings call as well. So the whole industry is calling on it. When we just had a webinar ourselves here at Agoda just last week with representatives from the World Wildlife Fund for Nature and Greenview, a consultancy out of Singapore. So we're very keen to be active here. If I was speaking to the hotel industry, I think the first thing is use COVID as the smokescreen, as the lead-in for switching to on-demand amenities kits. So you can literally say to your customers, instead of stocking your entire bathroom with everything from, shower caps to slippers, which no one uses, but now has to be thrown out en masse, is use COVID and say, hey, we're being safe here. We're also being a bit environment, anything you like, but just call us and we'll send it to the room. Let's not just stock everything. And I think that's a real change that the hotels can use COVID to help reduce a lot of that amenities waste.
Like a menu. So, last week, for example, because life is back to normal, there's lots of construction going on. I had to go into a hotel to run a event like this. And I was thinking, and the hotel knew that I was coming in just to run an event. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if a hotel actually had like a conferencing kit, just as they have yoga mats, right? So they could have a microphone, a camera, and a lighting. Just for people who are coming in. What do you think of that?
I think it's a great idea. I think, again, COVID has spurned a bit of change there. There's a lot of talk about, contactless check-in, though I'm not seeing that a lot yet. But what I have seen is a lot of implementation of on-property chat, an acceleration of on-property chat. And that's a great thing. So not just the first versions of on-property chat where you had to download a hotel's app and chat through that, never going to work. But we're starting to see a lot of people implementing solutions where you can easily integrate with WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, I assume in China with WeChat and similar, to that on-property chat, which is a great service and consumers are loving it.
Right. So I see from the chat that people, talking about events and what they miss is about network and quality of people, that still seems to be, that seems to be what people are missing. So let's wrap up with a rapid fire. We've come to the end of our chat. Okay. All right. So hidden secret you've discovered about Thailand.
Yeah. Well, look, you know me, I'm a trekker. I love the bush, and I have discovered some of the most beautiful bush in the far, far northern regions of Thailand, in between Chiang Mai and the Myanmar border. And I got lost in that bush because there's no one there. So I am just an enormous fan of the jungles of Thailand.
Do you call it bush because you're Australian?
I've got called bush because I'm Australian. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Hidden secret you've discovered about your neighborhood in Bangkok, because everything is so local.
I have 2 dogs now. I have COVID therapy pets, and so I've discovered beautiful walks. I've rediscovered the walking of my neighborhood, particularly along the Samsep Canal near my neighborhood, and the ability to take a dog for a long walk along the canals. It's been wonderful.
I'm gonna keep the theme of secret. Okay, secret sauce of Agoda. Give me something unexpected.
People. Well, the answer is always people. There's no secret to secrets. It's fantastic people. And I suppose if we had a secret in that, it was our ability to create a Thai and international culture in the one place. That we can thrive with wonderful Thai recruits. At the same time, the longevity of the expats we're able to hire. So that's a bit of a secret, is getting those two together.
Yeah, I think, that was always what people felt, that if you were based in Thailand, you couldn't be really global, right? But somehow, the longevity. And
we've proven you can. We've proven you can completely global, but also having a huge core of amazingly great Thai talent.
Okay. A secret about you that we didn't know before. Come on.
Well, I think most people who know me know this quote unquote secret, but it is Mardi Gras time. And the secret I have is I have 2 dads. So I was born and raised in a household with my mom involved, but also having 2 fathers, 2 gay dads. So that's my little secret.
You are so lucky to have two dads. Okay.
So lucky to have two dads.
A secret about travel you wish to discover when you can travel again.
Oh, Sihun, I want everything. I want it all. I want lions in Africa. I want beaches in Sydney. I want to meet my nephew in Italy. I want to eat barbecue in Korea. I want to go to mountains in Japan. I want jungles in Vietnam. I want friends in London. I want everything. I want it all.
You're killing me, Tims.
I'm greedy. That's Barbara's secret. I'm really greedy. I want it all.
Well, you know, the audience is sharing what they missed too, like Turkish kebab in Istanbul.
Turkish
Yeah, I
kebab.
agree.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
I want it all.
Thank you, Tim, so much for joining
Pleasure.
us. As always, a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much. All right, you know, it's been such a pleasure working with Charlie and his team on this event. Learning to navigate a new platform, a platform that's you know, works in China and works here, you know, so it's a platform that bridges China and Asia. So we hope that you've learned as much as we have about bridging China and Asia, so that we can prosper together when cross-border travel returns to our region, and it will. Just a note that we'll be flagging off our first travel roadshow on March 25th, and we're going to be hosting episode 1. No flight, no road. The battle to open the borders. Okay, so see you March 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. And we'll be also be producing some great prizes to be given to you to become our lead for all 6 episodes from March to August. So meantime, keep the faith. Travel will be back. We'll be able to visit places such as what Timothy has just shared with us. And I want to thank Jay and Charlie and everyone in Mac for joining our team, for joining our event. Thank you. Bye-bye.
봄이 내려온다. 장님 깊은 골로 대한짐승이 내렸다. 몸은 덜숭덜숭 꼬리는 잔뜩 핫팔이 넘고 우해머리 흔들며 전동 같은 앞다리 봉화 같은 뒷발로 양기 찌어지고 새낙 같은 발톱으로 잔디뿌리 왕모래를 촤르르르르 그치며 주홍잎떡 버리고 허리랑 하는 소리 하나리 묻어지고 땅이 툭 꺼진 한듯 차례 정신없이 먹으러 움츠리고 가만히 엎젖겄다. 봄 내려온다 봄이 내려온다 송이 깊은 골로 한짐승이 내려온다. 누의 머리를 흔들며 양귀 쭉 찢어지고 몸은 얼숭덜숭 꼬리는 잔뜩 봄 내려온다 봄이 내려온다 송이 깊은 골로 한짐승이 내려온다. 누의 머리를 흔들며 양귀 쭉 찢어지고 몸은 얼숭덜숭